What is going on, everyone? We are back in Black Myth Wukong. We got it paired with the Intel 265K. So this is the newest Intel offering, and we are just going to check it out today, see how it runs in Black Myth Wukong. There's the stutter of stutters. It always stutters right there with every GPU, so ignore that. But yeah, we are looking like about 60 FPS here. Of course, native. This is no upscaling and no frame generation. So we're just going to take a look here and go over to the different settings and see what we can expect with this card. So again, this is at full native, which is typically not how you would run this particular title. It is very demanding. So I'm going to make the I'm going to bring this down to 67 just to give us a little bit of a lift before we move forward. So that looks like with that small adjustment, it goes from 60s to 80s. So that's pretty good. Again, this is just still low, jumping up into the 90s now, so that gives us some headroom, and it should look pretty good all the way down to performance. So we're just going to keep going up in our upscaling as we need it when we get closer and closer to that 60 FPS mark. So let's just keep on going here and see what we can expect if we do jump up to that medium setting. So we're just going to go down here. This always likes to move. I don't know why. But yeah, let's go ahead and just kick it over that medium setting. No ray tracing yet. We're just going to see how it performs. And of course, we are on XeSS upscaling, the Intel flavor. You know, we're going to be using that for this whole test. So right here at 64 FPS on medium, definitely gives you a little bit of an upgrade as far as visuals go. Low is quite flat looking in this title, but medium, it starts to look a lot better. So, you know, again, this is one of those things where we're just going to see how it performs and not necessarily throw out all the different possibilities. We're just going to see, you know, what we can expect. So right here at 75 FPS, 77, it does run a little bit better over here on the scaffolding than typically in the, you know, more wooded areas. So let's just keep on going and see what we can expect if we go on up to high. So right here we are at about 70 FPS. So let's just keep going into it and see what we can expect. So let's see. Okay, go to high and jump over into it. All right, let's go ahead and fix this. This game loves to move this for some reason. Go and apply that. All right, confirm. All right, let's jump back into it. So this is quality, and we are at about 56, 58 FPS here. Again, no ray tracing, and we're just doing a very mild upscale to quality. So right here, I'd probably want to say we needed to probably, you know, go up on our upscaling. We're starting to dip below 60 most of the time, so that's kind of my threshold for when I would go up a little bit more on upscaling. So let's just keep on going through here, get a little bit more scenery in at this setting just to see how it behaves. Yeah, we're at 54, 56. So yeah, it looks pretty good. We just do need a little bit more upscaling. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, go to display. Let's see. No, we need to go into here. We need to go there, and let's go down to 58, which is a balanced upscale, and see what kind of lift that provides. All right, so let's jump back into it. And that gets us back over 60 or thereabouts. You know, right here, anytime you're near 60, especially in a title like this that's not very fast-paced, you can get over that rough spot with a little bit of frame generation and typically have a pretty good time. For whatever reason, the ARC GPU is not compatible at all with my frame view monitor, so we don't have PCL right now, but as far as a controller goes, it feels pretty good, and it even feels pretty good on mouse and keyboard right now. So all in all, it you know, this is a pretty enjoyable experience. There's nothing to be too worried about at all right here. So again, you know, this is a very, very inexpensive GPU, and that's kind of the attractiveness of it, is it gets you into a game without having to spend a ton of money. And the CPU I have it paired with, you know, again, they're also very cheap right now because nobody bought them, but they're still a pretty good CPU, honestly. I've really grown to like the new, you know, Ultra series quite a bit, mainly because of the price points and the multitasking. You know, if you do more than gaming, of course, it wouldn't hurt anything to have a multitasking CPU as well. All right, so anyway, let's just jump over into it. We're at 59 FPS, so I'm pretty sure at this point we're going to have to just run the rest of the test at least performance and see what we get there. So this is going to just be another upscale, just getting into performance here. All right, so that gives us about 63, 61 FPS. I do wish that it had a little bit more performance than this. Let's see how it goes, though. I'm going to double check things just to make sure that nothing got bumped because it didn't move that much at all. All right, yes, no frame generation. Everything looks good here. So, all right, yeah, this is where we're at. We're performance XeSS, and we are at about 60, 64 FPS here, 65 or so. Once we start getting into ray tracing, it's probably going to fall apart. Not that you purchase this GPU to do ray tracing because the price point is so low, but it does, it does kind of show you what you can get for your money. You can get something that will play things at medium to high on 1440, even a demanding title like Wukong, for not a whole bunch of money. So that's kind of why I wanted to run through this today and just kind of show an option that was a little bit more budget friendly in the days of $600 RAM kits. Anywhere you can save a buck ain't bad at all. So let's just keep going and see what we can do as far as a little bit more, go up a little bit more on our overall graphics quality. All right, so let's see, very high here. So very high takes a little bit of a dive. We're down into 45, 43. So here would be where you'd probably have to make some concessions as far as either go down in your resolution to maybe 1080p or just be okay with doing some frame generation and see what that does for you. It's the price of this card that makes it attractive. If you just don't want to spend a bunch of money, maybe it's your first PC or you've got some more budget constraints, this is a pretty viable option. It comes with 12 gigs of RAM, of VRAM, so that's also good. It kind of gets you out of that 8 gig hell from, this price point and other GPUs that I won't mention. But yeah, we're looking like 42, 41. So let's just jump over here and turn on some frame gen and see what that does for us, because we're going to need it. So I'm going to go to auto. I'm assuming that means 2x. I don't know. I don't know what auto means, but yeah, we're just going to see what that does. All right, so yeah, that much more smooth. Gives you about 80 FPS here. Again, this is 1440 upscaled from performance with some frame gen. You're at 80 FPS here. VRAM allocation's looking good. 8.8 using 7.3. No spill. Everything's rocking along just fine. Would like to call out the RAM though, as RAM prices again are insane. You're gonna need 32 for this setting, or 24 at least. So if you are looking at 16 gig kits, I would probably still lean toward trying your best to find a 32 gig kit or at least a 24 gig kit. All right, so let's jump over and see what we can do going up in our settings some more. So we are going to explore the cinematic setting. Now, cinematic is more of a film effect than anything. I don't really think it's like necessarily better than very high. It's just different. So on this card, it is a little bit harder to run it, obviously, because it kind of gives it this like ethereal look. It's a very hard thing to describe, but I would probably just not go to cinematic. I don't think it's worth the performance hit for what is essentially something that just looks like a filter. It is pretty, but very high is also nice as well. So I would jump down to very high and play it that way, but you are around 80 FPS here with that frame generation turned on, and I mean, on a controller, honestly, it feels perfectly fine. I'm going to see what it does on very high with some ray tracing, just to kind of see if it's even remotely doable. We're going to kick it over to ray tracing low. I'm going to do a restart, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're back in it. Let's jump in and regroup to see what we're at. Okay, so... and when we left, we had turned on some ray tracing. All right, so we have the frame generation set to auto. I'm going to get a baseline just to see what it looks like with cinematic and the low level of ray tracing. It's probably not going to be pretty, but let's just see. All right, so about 42, high 30s. So really, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Let's just keep on going, though. It does look a little grainy. Unfortunately, it's just really pushing some upscaling right now. So let's jump into it and see if this is even remotely doable. So I'm going to go down to what is basically, let's go to medium with that low level of ray tracing, just to see if we can get those frames up a little bit more now that ray tracing is involved. Especially just ray tracing low shouldn't be too terribly bad. That gets us up about 10 FPS there, about 46, 45. Yeah, I mean, to do ray tracing, you're going to have to make some concessions unless you just want to really use a bunch of frame generation, which, I mean, it is available to you. And, you know, again, at this price point, it might not be a bad idea to just kind of put it in your head like, okay, if I use frame generation, then I'll be all right with, you know, of course, some delay. All right, so let's go ahead and go frame generation for the rest of the test because we're going to need it, and just see how it feels. All right, so right here we're at 80, about 80 FPS with that frame gen set to auto. You know, again, it does feel okay. I'm on a controller, it feels fine. You know, on a mouse and keyboard, it feels pretty good too. I mean, I'm on a keyboard swinging the camera around, which is where you're going to notice it the most. It feels perfectly fine. All right, so let's just keep going here and jump over to the next level. Let's go to graphics here and just come down and go to medium ray tracing. So this is all medium with upscale set to performance and frame generation set to auto. Let's see if we can hold on to it here. That gives us 75 FPS with that frame generation turned on. Now the frame generation, you know, it's definitely keeping us smooth. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say that frame generation is like anything but just like a giant Band-Aid in most cases. However, on a slower paced title like this, at the price point you're at, this is not a bad way to play it, all things considered. You know, I mean, if this was performance on like a $700 GPU, I would be, you know, probably saying like, don't buy this thing. But if this is your price point, you know, you got some options, this being one of the better ones. There's that stutter that always happens. Yeah, so you're at 90 FPS here with a little bit of ray tracing, which ain't bad. I mean, that's, you know, kind of promising. So let's see here if we can jump into it and see how much further we can realistically push this thing. I'm going to come down here and go to the next graphic preset of high. I think high looks probably the best considering what you get for it. Very high, of course, is probably going to be my favorite, but high looks really, really good too. And you're still at 67 FPS with medium RT on. And really what that does is it takes care of the global illuminations and shadows. The only thing you're missing out on is some transparency, like when it comes to water. It can, you know, improve it there. You got a little bit of a stutter there, but you know, we're not expecting miracles here, so it's kind of within the frame of realism for what this GPU is more meant to do. But yeah, with frame generation turned on, you're at 75 FPS here, 1440p. You know, you are upscaling it pretty hardcore. I mean, the performance on 1440 is a pretty aggressive upscale from 720p. So, you know, that considering that it doesn't look the sharpest possible, but you could go in and do some sharpening and potentially get it to look a little bit better. Let's jump in there and see if we can do any kind of sharpening here. I believe it's under display. Yeah, so we're at 2. Now, when your frame generation, you got to be careful with your sharpening. It can lead to more ghosting. However, God, that looks so much better. Putting that from 2 to 8, I mean, all his armor and stuff looks so much cleaner. So this is a viable setting. You know, hopefully we don't have any ghosting from the frame generation. But yeah, I mean, right here, you're at 72 FPS. And honest to God, it feels fine on a controller. I mean, this feels perfectly doable and quite shocking, honestly. So yeah, let's jump down here and see what we can do as far as going up to potentially a little bit more demanding setting. Let me get to the right tab here. So we're going to leave it on super resolution of 50, and then our sharpening is, of course, at 8, which looks extremely good. Let's go up to very high, leave that ray tracing on medium, and see what we can expect here. Of course, you know, our frame generation is doing some pretty hardcore work for us right here, but I mean, the water still looks really good even without that highest level of ray tracing. But, you know, you would get some nice transparencies in there if you did have it maxed out. but you're still at 80 FPS in some spots. And I mean, is this playable? Yes, absolutely, it is playable. Do you have some snags and stutters here and there? Yeah, you do. I mean, you know, you're going to have to set that expectation kind of accordingly. But right here, you're doing fine. You're going into the forest here, which is a little bit harder to run, and you're at 63 FPS. So we got some water here. I want to see what we can expect if we do go all the way up on that ray tracing and just see how bad it gets. I mean, you know, again, I'm not expecting miracles here, but I just want to get kind of all the different data. So very high. So this would be very high all the way down with that ray tracing, you know, completely maxed out. Frame generation is on, and we are upscaling from performance. So this is pretty flickery, but I mean, there's that nice transparent water. That's kind of what it does. I wanted to take the opportunity to kind of show you what that maxed out ray tracing does. Is that water looks incredibly clean and gives it like this very nice you know, just depth that you don't get anywhere else. But it really only pertains to the water. So if you're willing to give that up, you really don't have to worry too much about running this game. If you're willing to use upscaling, use your frame generation, sharpen it up. I'm going to sharpen it a little bit more, go all the way up, just to make sure that we get the cleanest image possible. So right here, full ray tracing might be a little bit too hard for it. But I would probably run it with medium ray tracing and then high on my preset, and then go into it there and just see if we can get some pretty good frames. Yeah, I mean, there you go. You're at 70 FPS. It feels extremely responsive, feels very nice. There's nothing wrong with this at all. I am on a controller. Again, I've got the frame generation turned to auto, which is the only option. And then I am upscaling from performance, and it's very, very doable, even with a little bit of ray tracing. The ray tracing is actually quite impressive. Intel has really put in some work as far as the drivers go since launch. This has been a really pretty decent test. It's I will say that it has pleasantly surprised me. I was kind of expecting just a complete nightmare, but yeah, it's not. It's the exact opposite, actually. For this price point, this is a pretty good purchase. You know, in the landscape of 8 gig cards, I would probably lean a little bit more toward the 12 gig version or the 12 gig card option, which is, you know, as you can see here, our VRAM is allocating 9.4, and there's 12 on this card. It's the only real card with 12 gigs or more than 8, I would say, at this low price point. Looks like it's a little bit better than even I expected. So it's handling it just fine. I mean, this has been a pretty in-depth look. If you like this kind of thing, let me know if you want me to do any more videos with this particular card. This is the first video I've done with the Intel ARC series, so just let me know, and I'll be sure to put this in rotation. So yeah, this has been Wukong on the ARC B580, and we will see you all in the very next video. Peace.